Ready to step off the map from the most hidden alleyways to the stories nobody told you? Uncharted Alleyways begins now. Your definitive guide and travel podcast, culture, adventure, and the world as you've never heard it. Tune in, disconnect from the obvious, and come explore with us. Uncharted Alleyways, your next trip starts here.
So I want you to imagine leaving the towering, just massively crowded dome of the Hagia Sophia completely behind you.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge shift right there.
Right. And you're walking away from the bustling, shoulder-to-shoulder labyrinth of the Grand Bazaar, leaving all that noise.
Just stepping totally out of that chaotic tourist bubble.
Exactly. You step onto a ferry, you cross continents, and you discover this entirely different side of Istanbul that, honestly, most tourists just completely miss.
It's so true. I mean, people spend their whole trip craning their necks at monuments, and they totally miss the actual city.
And that is exactly our mission for today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are jumping into part 2 of a really fascinating local travel guide called Istanbul Beyond the Icons.
Yeah, and the goal here is to really unpack the authentic lived-in rhythms of Istanbul, right?
Right, because we want to equip you to experience the city, not as this frantic, checklist-obsessed sightseer, but, like a local.
Yeah, getting into the hidden neighborhoods, the unhurried tea gardens, the sprawling breakfasts.
Yes, all of it. So, okay, let's unpack this, because to experience a city like a local, you obviously have to know where the locals actually hang out.
Exactly. You have to understand the geography of the vibe, so to speak.
Right, the geography of the vibe. And the sources guide us completely away from that historic center and across the Bosphorus to look at the different tempos of these neighborhoods.
Yeah, because the historic center is all about throughput, like moving crowds. But these local neighborhoods, they operate on a totally different social mechanic.
They really do. Like, I was looking at the breakdown in the source material, and it feels like a musical playlist with 3 very distinct tempos.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Thanks. Yeah, so first you have Kadıköy on the Asian side, which you reach by ferry alongside, local fishermen and daily commuters.
Right, which instantly sets a different mood.
Totally. It's like the acoustic indie track of the city. It has this very relaxed, lived-in feel with these gorgeous tree-lined streets.
Yeah, and it's filled with independent bookstores, record shops, and all those old apartments with colorful murals painted on them.
Exactly. And the vibe is just defined by long breakfasts, university students hanging out with their laptops, street musicians playing on the corners.
It really is designed for lingering.
Yeah.
But then, you contrast that with the Balat back on the European side.
Right, which in my playlist analogy is like a vintage classic.
Yeah.
It's one of the oldest districts, characterized by these insanely steep hills.
Oh, yeah. Those hills will definitely slow your walking pace down.
Oh, for sure. Just narrow cobblestone streets everywhere. But it's historically so diverse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For centuries, it's been this mixing pot. You have churches, synagogues, and mosques standing practically next door to each other.
And it's incredibly photogenic, too. Brightly painted homes, laundry hanging on lines between the buildings, cats napping on the steps.
It's that tight-knit, neighborly feel. Like the shopkeepers actually know everyone on the street.
Yeah, which is just beautiful. But then we shift gears completely to our third neighborhood, which is Beşiktaş on the European waterfront.
Right, the stadium anthem of the playlist.
Exactly. It is energetic, it's buzzing. It's just a huge mix of students, office workers, families, and of course, the incredibly loud football fans in their black and white gear.
The energy there is just off the charts. The waterfront promenade is basically the ultimate gathering spot for the whole city.
Yeah, the sources mention people just sharing bags of sunflower seeds and watching the ferries go by. And then the side streets are just packed with these bustling markets.
Right, selling fresh produce, olives, cheeses, huge piles of spices. It's ordinary life operating at max volume.
It really is. But, okay, here is where I have to push back on the source material a little bit.
Oh, okay, let's hear it.
Because it advises you, especially in a localized place like Kadıköy, to essentially wander without a plan. Just see where the day takes you.
Right, just follow the vibe.
Yeah, but is it really realistic? Or even safe, for that matter, to just wander aimlessly in a massive foreign city without getting totally lost and wasting your day?
What's fascinating here is that getting lost is exactly the point they are trying to make.
Really? How so?
Well, the lack of an itinerary is a specific mechanism. It forces you to actually engage with the rhythm of the neighborhood.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, because when you have a strict to-do list, your brain is always in future tense. You're treating the vibrant streets like an obstacle course between you and the monument you want to photograph.
Right, you're just staring at your GPS the whole time.
Exactly. So wandering without a plan forces you to be present. You duck into a bakery just because you smelled the bread in that exact moment, or into a bookstore just for the vibe rather than checking off a tourist to-do list.
Okay, so if these neighborhoods dictate where the locals hang out, the next logical question is how they actually spend their time.
Yes, the currency of time.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting, because the unifying thread of Istanbul's culture is this intentional act of slowing down.
Perfectly captured in a single glass of tea.
Yes, Turkish tea.
Yeah.
It's not just a drink. The sources emphasize that it's literally a way of life.
It is the social glue of the entire city, and it's served in those very specific, elegant, tulip-shaped glasses.
Right, and it accompanies absolutely everything. Business meetings, family visits, intense games of backgammon, or just sitting and looking at the waterfront.
Yeah, and the tea gardens themselves, especially the ones near the parks or right on the water, they are basically the complete antithesis of our busy modern coffee chains.
Exactly. It sounds like the Turkish tea garden is the ultimate anti-drive-through.
The anti-drive-through. I love that. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really is a subtle rebellion against this modern obsession with constantly being busy.
Right. Like in the West, we have this anxiety that an unscheduled hour is somehow a wasted hour.
Precisely. But the infrastructure of a tea garden encourages you to sit for hours having deep conversations or just watching the fishing boats drift by until the sun goes down.
So when the source material gives that ultimate piece of advice on how to be a local, sit down, order tea, stay a while, that's actually a profound shift in mindset for a typical traveler.
It's massive. It requires a traveler who is used to rushing from attraction to fundamentally change how they value their time.
Yeah, going from spending time to savoring time, which naturally brings us to the culinary storytelling of the city, because that unhurried indulgence definitely extends to the dinner table.
Oh, absolutely. If tea dictates the pace of life, the local food reveals the actual soul of the city.
And meals, they're clearly meant to be shared events. I mean, let's start with the Turkish breakfast, the kahvaltı.
It's not a meal, it's an absolute feast.
It's staggering. The sources describe it as this elaborate, incredibly colorful event.
Yeah, just massive spreads, fresh bread, multiple kinds of regional cheeses, endless black and green olives, tomatoes, cucumbers.
And the honey. The honeycomb with clotted cream, the jams, the baked eggs, the pastries, and obviously endless rounds in tea.
Right, and historically, offering that overwhelming abundance of food is deeply tied to their traditions of hospitality.
It's amazing. But as you move into lunch and dinner, the focus shifts a bit to the importance of finding these family-run restaurants, rather than places with flashy multi-language menus.
Yes, the local lokantas, where you find dishes like grilled kebabs, tender lamb, hearty stews, stuffed vegetables, real slow-cooked food.
But if you go down to the waterfront, the geography kind of takes over the menu again, right?
Oh, for sure. Seafood is the absolute star along the Bosphorus.
Yeah.
Charcoal grilled fish, calamari, mussels.
And the sources highly recommend one incredibly simple, affordable, local favorite, the fish sandwich, the balık ekmek.
Yes, you just eat it right by the water, watching the ferries cross between the continents. It is iconic.
But then you also have this huge street food culture if you're on the go. Like the simit, which is that sesame-crusted bread ring.
Right, or the durum, the flatbread wrapped around grilled meat and veggies.
Yeah, and roasted chestnuts in the cooler months. Or those carts selling fresh squeezed pomegranate juice.
And we can't forget the sweets. Flaky pistachio baklava paired with incredibly strong Turkish coffee.
Which you absolutely must sip slowly. But, okay, this brings up a really practical question for you, the listener.
All right, what is it?
So, what does this all mean for someone who is terrified of falling into a tourist trap? Because how do you actually spot the real deal when every single restaurant on the street looks enticing and smells amazing?
That's a great question. And the source material points out a very simple, crucial detail. You have to look at the tables.
Look at the tables. Okay, explain that.
It's about who is sitting there. If the tables are filled with local families enjoying a prolonged meal together, rather than tourists quickly scanning translated menus, you've found the right spot.
Because the family-run places rely on repeat local business, right?
Exactly. Their food has to be consistently excellent, whereas a tourist trap right next to a major monument just relies on foot traffic. They don't need you to ever come back.
Wow, high churn versus actual community accountability. That is such a great tip.
Yeah, it completely changes how you pick a place for dinner.
Okay, so after you've eaten your weight in baklava and wandered the cobblestones of Balat, you eventually need to sleep.
You do.
And choosing your accommodation really acts as the anchor for the exact type of Istanbul experience you want to have.
It really does. The sources break it down into three main areas. First, you have Sultanahmet.
Which is best for first-timers, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. It puts those iconic landmarks like the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque literally minutes from your front door.
Okay, but then there's Karakoy.
Right, which is best for a lively atmosphere. You've got these historic buildings transformed into stylish boutique hotels, surrounded by cafes, art galleries, nightlife.
And it has really easy access to Galata and the waterfront, so you're right in the mix.
Exactly. But then, thirdly, they recommend Kadıköy over on the Asian side.
Which is best for that everyday local atmosphere we were talking about.
Right, it's quieter, more lived in.
But wait, staying in Kadıköy means I have to commute by ferry across the Bosphorus every single day just to see the main historic sites.
You do, yes.
So is that really a fair trade-off for someone on a limited vacation schedule? Like, I don't want to commute on my holiday.
This raises an important question about what convenience actually means on a trip.
Okay, how so?
Well, the ferry ride isn't a chore. It is an iconic daily decompression ritual.
Decompression.
Yeah. It physically and mentally separates the chaotic, redlining tourist center from your quiet local evening wind down.
Oh, I see. So you spend 8 hours in the sensory overload of the Grand Bazaar, but you don't carry that frantic energy back to your hotel room.
Exactly. You step onto a boat, the wind hits you, you drink a glass of tea, you watch the skyline shrink. By the time you get to the Asian side, that 20-minute ride has acted as a psychological buffer zone.
Wow, that is brilliant. A built-in mental palate cleanser. And there's one practical tip the sources mentioned, regardless of where you stay. Always make sure you are near a metro station, tram stop, or ferry terminal.
Yes, the public transit there is excellent, and it saves you from trying to navigate the notoriously complex taxi situations.
For sure. Well, we have covered some incredible ground today. We mapped out the energetic and laid-back neighborhoods. We learned the unhurried art of tulip glass tea, tasted street food and massive breakfasts, and figured out how to pick the perfect home base.
And honestly, this only covers part 2 of the source material. Part 3 promises to be just as fascinating.
Oh, I can't wait. We'll be meeting Istanbul's famous cats and dogs, uncovering more local secrets, and getting into some advanced travel tips.
But for now, whether you are booking a ticket tomorrow or just armchair traveling with us today, the big takeaway is that understanding these cultural rhythms transforms you. You go from being a passive tourist to a true traveler.
I love that. Which leaves me with one final provocative thought for you to mull over. What if you didn't actually have to wait for a trip to Istanbul to embrace its rhythm? What would happen if this weekend you applied the Turkish tea garden mindset to your own hometown? What if you wandered without a plan, left your phone in your pocket, and just sat down to watch your own neighborhood unfold?
Just sit down, order tea, and stay a while.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.